Hello, Carl Southwick here again with part 2 of my NeoAxis video tutorials teaching you how to use the NeoAxis 3D game engine. Alright, today I'm going to be discussing with you how to use the NeoAxis map editor, which is the program that comes with NeoAxis where you will be spending most of your time developing your worlds and your levels for your game. Alright, when you open up a new map in the NeoAxis map editor by clicking on the new map button, you see this blank screen that says no lights. It's blank because we haven't put any entities or objects into it. We can add entities by coming over here to the Entity Types panel. An entity is basically anything you want to put in your game, like a room or a light or a character, a spawn point, basically whatever you want, basically whatever makes up a game. So we're going to start out by adding a room. The room can be found in the Types Base folder right here. Click on the little plus sign to expand it. And in Static Mesh. So just click on that and it opens up this big panel up here. I'm going to move it down here for easier use and visibility. And the room can be found in the Models folder, Rooms. Basically all of these static meshes and all of the folders over in the Entity panel are entities that we have created and saved in folders in our project folder. So basically, now that I've selected Room, I can move it around in the panel which was once black, and I can click where I want to put it. Then it's added the room to my world, and now I still have another room selected, so I could add another room if I wished. However, I don't really want to do that, so I click on a folder over here, just any folder, and I am not placing any more objects. Now, I can click on the room to select it. Left click turns it green. It's got this green grid all over it, and it shows that it's selected. Over here in the Properties panel, you can see all the different properties that have to do with the selected object. Now, you can also see what object is selected up here in the Map Entities panel. Whichever one has the check mark next to it is the one that's selected. Notice that it's in the root layer. We're going to create a new layer called Rooms that we can store this room in. We'll also store any other rooms that we create in that layer. This helps you keep everything organized so you don't lose track of anything, and it's also easier to select things when you have a lot of objects out there. So to put it in a different layer, we're going to come down here to the Properties panel and scroll down to the Layer property. Right now it says it's in the root layer, so we click on the down arrow and we see that we have no more layers. We first have to create a layer. We do that up here again by right-clicking on root layer and saying new layer. This new folder appears and we can name it whatever we want. Let's name it Rooms. Then press enter and we have a new layer. So now we come all the way back down to the properties, and if we go to the layer category and push the down arrow, we should see our Rooms layer that we created. Click here and it's been added up here in the Entities panel to the Rooms layer. When you expand it, you can see that it's there and it's selected. Over here, you can see how many entities and objects are in that particular layer that corresponds with this number. You can also lock the layer so that you can't make any changes to it, and you can also make it invisible so you can't see it. Right now I can see it because it's still selected, but if I were to deselect it, you wouldn't be able to see anything. Let's make it visible and so that we can actually edit it. Now we're going to move it around. You can do that in several different ways. You can do that by clicking on the on the move over here, select and move, and you get these axes that you can click and drag and move it around. Another way to position something is to come down to the Properties panel again and scroll down until you see Position. We want to put the room at the origin so that we can work everything around it and have it at a known location that we can relate to when we put in other objects. So we're going to say 0, 0, 0, which is the origin. Push enter and it moves automatically. To rotate my view, by the way, I'm right-clicking and dragging. Alright, now we have a very nice room. However, we can't run around in it yet because we haven't put in any player. So in order to put in a player, we come over here to Special, the Special folder in the Entity Types panel. Once in here, we look around until we see Spawn Point. This is where your character will spawn when you run the map. So we click on that, and once again you can see that I have a little flag where I am trying to place my object. So I'm going to just put it down on the ground, let's just say right there. Alright, now I've added it. Click on the folders to not add anymore. And then let's also add some lights, because right now it still says over here no lights, and if there are no lights you won't be able to see anything. So we're just going to place one quick light up near the ceiling of our map. To find a light, we can minimize this. Hold on, just let me find it real fast. Okay, it's in the base folder, like where we found our static mesh, and it is light. So when you click on light, you can see I have a little light over here in my map. I can then click wherever I want to place it, and it places a light. Now, lights also have their own individual properties. If I click and drag, I can select it easier. It tells me which direction it's pointing. You can rotate an object by clicking on select and rotate. Then you see these different axes that I can use to rotate. You click on one when it turns yellow and you can rotate it. Right now you can't really see it because the light's pointing in one direction. There we go. Now it's pointing straight down. Alright, now let's go and straighten up our layers a little so that we can keep things organized. Right now everything's in the rooms layer, which doesn't make much sense because that light's not a room. So we come back up to root layer and go new layer. Let's call this one lights. And then let's add another layer. And let's call this one spawn points, just in case we want to spawn a lot of monsters. Alright. Then we can select one up here. We'll select it up here instead of in the map editor this time. And then we'll scroll down to the layer property, and let's put spawn point in spawn points. Then let's select the light, and once again in the layers we'll put it in lights layer. Now if you expand those, you can see that they're there. We can turn them off again and you won't be able to see the light, just to show you its visibility properties. Okay, now we're going to test the map and see if it really worked. So we come up to this green button that says run simulation and we click it. Sometimes it takes a while to load, but now you can see that it's loading the map that we just made. Here you can look around, you can run around a little using WAS and D, and you can explore your room. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope it helped, and please stay tuned for the next one.